Okay, everything else is done from underneath. Lift the vehicle. Another updated video for the 2.5 liter engine oil change. Lighting, I guess, is never good enough. I mean, it's the general idea that as long as you grasp the general idea, you should still be able to do whatever you want to do after watching one of my videos. So here's the oil filter, and this is the cap or the plug for the drain. This should just be hand tight. As you can see, it is. There's no need to go macho. There's no need to go macho on this. So you just remove it by hand. If you don't have the correct drain tool, all you need to do is take a screwdriver, push the orange nipple up and to the side. It'll lock up into the open position, but it can make a bit of a mess, as you can see. If you take the tool, it just screws into place. As it screws in, it pushes the valve up and oil will start to flow. And you can see that's a lot nicer. While the oil is draining like this from the filter housing, what I do is I check the tire pressure. If the hose are long enough, it might be, I can take the plug out and let the oil drain from the pan. It's a 19 millimeter for the oil drain plug. Careful when working on a hot engine. Hot oil will burn your hands. If you don't see me wearing gloves, it's because I'm wearing the PR88. So while the oil is draining, I check tire pressure. Brakes are wearing pretty crappily. Once it pretty much stopped draining from the filter housing, you can remove the tool. To remove the actual filter housing, I use a hot set tool, 2169. Because this container is fairly small, I can't take the oil filter housing off and move this here, so I'm going to put the plug in. Otherwise, if I move this forward, this is going to drip onto the floor, and that's enough oil out anyways. At this point, it's just trickling. Tight is tight. Not too tight, just tight enough to be tight. Otherwise, 30 foot-pounds. That's quite a bit, actually. I think 30 Newton meter. Remove the old O-ring. I always insert the filter a little bit here, lube the new O-ring, set it into place. Lube the threads with a bit of oil. Spin the filter on, or the cover, the housing. .25 Newton meter. Hand tight. Brake clean. Continue with under vehicle inspection, transmission fluid, belts, hoses, fluid levels, CB boots, axle boots, whatever you want to call them, brake hoses. Rear coil springs are prone to breaking. This one's okay. This one's okay. Axle bushings, control arm bushings. And then you fill it up with your favorite VW approved oil. We'll take around 5 liters, put in 4.5, run the engine, and then top up until it says full on the dipstick. Check coolant level. Windshield washer fluid gets topped up. There's no power steering fluid on this one. It's electric steering. Always check the one-way clutch. This one is free. If you have power steering reservoir, then you have a power steering pump up here, in which case your alternator will turn in the opposite direction. So your one-way clutch, and instead of checking in the forward rotation, you would push it in the reverse rotation. Okay, so that's 4.5 liters. Let's blow it halfway up the dipstick. It's started, let it run for about 10 seconds. 1, 1000, 2, 1000, 3, 1000, 4, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, 1010. Okay, recheck the oil level. Okay, it's just touching the bottom here, so it'll be about 1 liter that it takes. Add a 1/2 liter, recheck. You know, it's always easier to add more than it is to remove oil. It's almost perfect. So right there. Good enough. I use VCDS to reset the oil service. It can be done by pushing buttons in the dash. Using the scan tool is easier for me because what I also do is I do a full system scan so that I have control unit fault codes and control unit information coding on file if there ever is any issues in the future. So it's just making contact. It's going through the values. So last time, or since inspection, 436 days. Since inspection, 9,000 kilometers. Maximum distance to service, 8,000. Maximum time, 365 days. Somebody hasn't set this thing yet to the 15,000 interval, so we'll just leave it as is. Reset ESI and SIA, which would be this one here. There is no fixed values. Perform, so it's not just now going to go through the routine and reset, and it might do it a second time just to verify. Okay, so it reset everything. 1 year, 365 days, or 8,000 kilometers. You can change that 8,000 to 15. It all depends on your engine, how much oil it consumes. It's better to do oil changes earlier than later, and forget about checking the oil and forgetting about topping it up. So that's pretty much it. Here's the auto scan function. Go to gateway. It'll pull up all the modules that are on the CAN network. We actually have some engine faults here, so then I press start and it'll go through all the modules and retrieve all the codes. So I'll let you know what the codes are once I have them. Okay, almost done with the system scan. Copy the codes, paste it into a new text file. Then I scroll up to where the engine fault is. That's the ABS engine control module. Check DTC. Here's the engine control module. 3 faults: manifold barometric pressure sensor, implausible signal, manifold pressure barometric sensor, implausible signal. Is that the same code? 106, 106. Set that twice, not sure why. Bank 1, system 2, rich at idle. 2188. So then I save this. Actually, I also get the long-term fuel trim values out of the engine module. Measuring block 32. So at idle it's taking away 2.4%. When cruising it's adding 2.7. So these values are actually pretty good. So because the fault is intermittent, you pretty much, and the car was driving fine. The customer said that it doesn't act up very often, but when it does, there's lack of power. So I transfer over these long-term fuel trims, 2.7 and 2.4, and then I save the file. July 12/19. It's a white 2011 Golf 5-cylinder. I don't bother with license plate or VIN number because when a customer comes back, I check the invoice in the computer, in the shop computer, and then I can cross-reference, basically search under day. So I know the car was here on July 12th, and odds are that not more than one white Golf with a 5-cylinder is going to be in on that same day. And I do have the VIN on file here anyways. It's part of the diagnostic scan here. Alright, thanks for watching. I may or may not post an update on the barometric sensor. If it's not acting up now, I'm not going to find a problem. Explain that to the customer, and rather than spending diagnostic time when the car doesn't act up, we wait until it becomes a hard fault. So I'm just going to clear the codes and that's it. Obviously, if the code comes back right away, shortly after the vehicle is started, it hasn't come yet after starting, or I haven't started it yet. I just cleared it, no fault yet. But if the fault returns after the vehicle is started, then that is considered somewhat of a hard fault. Then I would start chasing it. Thanks for watching. So I was going to back probe the map sensor, barometric pressure sensor, when I noticed the harness was taped up, and once I moved the tape, I saw that this wire was in the connector, but I just moved it a little bit and it came right out. So there's the intermittent contact and setting that barometric pressure sensor fault code. So I'm just going to move the whole air filter box so that I can move this wiring over to give me more room. Because working in this small area is not going to be very fruitful.